Pro basketball today on SportsGrid. It is great to be with you as we get set for a Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals. Kevin Walsh alongside Coach James Young. There's plenty we will get to on this Saturday as you have not just the Game 7 between Oklahoma City and San Antonio, but the Knicks are in the NBA Finals for the first time in a long time. The Cavs, we'll get to that. The WNBA continues to roll on. We've completely overhauled the draft lottery format. A lot of big names opted to go back to school as well. So, Coach, a lot on our plate.
Yeah, but let's be honest, Kevin. It's the two best words in all of sports, and it's Game 7. And a Game 7 coming up tonight. Let's be honest, folks. I was saying this to Kevin when we were on the phone yesterday. This is just year one. We could be seeing this the next 4, 5, 6 years in a row with these two young teams. But a lot of exciting news in the world of basketball this week.
100%, JY. I think, though, the appropriate starting point is our road here to this game number 7, and the Spurs took the opener. OKC grabs control back. But the losses for the Thunder have been very loud. And their offense has no-showed. And I don't want to say that to where it sounds like I'm taking credit away from what the Spurs defense has done. But the Thunder, in their wins versus their losses, it's jarring. In the wins, 122, 123, 127. In the losses, now 115 looks good. That was double overtime. That was really 101 in regulation, followed by 82 and 91. JY, through your lens, what is leading to these huge point discrepancies, offensive gaps from the Thunder game to game?
Well, it's a couple of things. One, it could be the free throw attempts by SGA, which you almost like the NBA kind of said, kind of hinted at this a couple of weeks ago, and they're not calling some of these fouls, whether you think they're fouls or not. Number two, I think we are learning in our eyes how important Jalen Williams is to the Thunder. Remember, folks, at times last year during the NBA Finals, in my opinion, Jalen Williams was their best offensive player. That includes SGA. I'm not saying he's a better player, but at times his ability to score, create, it kind of stepped it up for them. But then there's A.J. Mitchell, a guy that didn't play last year, who got sprung and had huge moments this year during the year, and now the primary guy that's been backing up Jalen Williams or in the starting lineup, another guy that can create his own shot, is now out as well. So you now come to a point where in the NBA, and when you get to this point, Kevin, and you get to a 7-game series, let's be honest, everybody knows what everybody else is going to run. I remember being a coach, you would say a play call, and then the guy guarding the point guard would yell it back to his team, and everybody would talk about their coverages. So when you get down to Game 6 and Game 7, and you get down to the nitty-gritty, it is, do you have the guys that can create your own shot? And in my opinion, in Oklahoma City, they have 3 of them. Well, Kevin, 2 of them are not playing. So now that puts a lot on SGA. It puts a lot on Lou Dort, who now has to just bomb away and pray that it goes in. Alex Caruso, you know what he is. He'll give you a great game, but that's not his game either. And then you look on the other side with San Antonio with the number of defenders that they can throw at SGA, wear him down, load up, and then if you drive it down the lane, you got a 7'5" guy that not only blocks shots, but completely takes you out of what you want to do offensively. So now you can't even get to the paint to draw people to kick out, because when you drive it with Wemby, Wemby's there. So what are you going to do? So there's a lot of reasons why Oklahoma City is in this predicament. But when it comes down to it, that man who shot, I think, under 40% or 4 or 5 straight games, he's got to show himself tonight why he's a 2-time MVP and why he is considered the best player in the world. This is where a legacy game comes up. When your team is hurt, people are doubting you, you're at home. Can you, SGA, carry your team over the finish line in the Western Conference Finals?
And I think you are absolutely right to point towards Shea. There are two big things that have really put the OKC offense in a bad spot. Number one is Victor Wembanyama. And number two is some bad three-point shooting from some key guys. Caruso and Case and Wallace have had excellent series from beyond the arc. Let's start, though, with what Wemby has done, which is make pretty much this entire roster scared to get to the cup. That is where they miss Jalen Williams more than anything. Because J-Dub has that, I'm just going to go for it, right? I don't even think A.J. Mitchell has it as much. Maybe he would have got more comfortable, but I thought A.J. Mitchell looked big-eyed in game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Again, comfortability can come, but obviously the health's not allowed that. And because of Wemby and his control of the painted area, coach, you know, it's funny, Shea should actually be, for the non-analytic analytic crowd, their favorite player. Because it's mid-range, tough step back. The shot quality for Shea in this series is not good. It is drive, dip an arm, and get back and get up. And a lot of 17-footers. Now, he's had some good moments, but there's a reason why that field goal percentage is as bad as it is for Shea in this series. And he's also not getting a ton of help from the three-point shooters around him. I mentioned Caruso. I mentioned Case and Wallace. Jared McCain is in the midst of the single most overrated series performance you will ever see. He has 2 20-point performances. Congratulations. He is shooting 28% from 3. For those that don't know, against the Lakers, he shot 63% from 3. 63%. In the 4 games against the Lakers, he made 12 threes. So far, JY, against the Spurs in 6 games, he's made 12 threes. Except the attempts are way, way up. Chet Holmgren's not been a threat from deep. Mark Daigneault, who's willing to play everybody, does not seem to trust Isaiah Joe. Lou Dort. Lou Dort is back. Derogatory. He's shooting 18% from 3. Lou Dort turned himself into a nice three-point shooter, actually. I know that sounds hard to believe for some people. In the regular season, Lou Dort was at 34%. You'll take it. The prior 2 regular seasons, he was around 40. Again, 30% from Lou Dort would make him about the 3rd best three-point shooter in this series. Can't do it. So, but that's one of the big things, Coach, that gives me some pause, if you will, heading into Game 7. We're really going to talk this game out. Teams get hot. Teams get hot at home. And you could absolutely argue the Thunder are due to get hot in Game 7. Occasionally, great defense doesn't have a chance because the opponent just lights the nets on fire. And a guy like Lou Dort starts the game 3 for 3 from 3, and you go, well, now what? And then Jared McCain comes in and actually shoots it well, instead of having a 94 offensive rating, as people pretend like he's the whole, oh my gosh, I can't even. Some of the conversations, like I might become a Daryl Morey guy. I got to be honest with you. Jay. I'm considering it. I really am. We're going to take a quick break here. We're off and running. It is pro basketball today on SportsGrid. Guys, good news, bad news. Okay. Good news, best show we've ever done. Bad news, we did it in the break. All right. Now, listen, I don't know what you want me to tell you about that. All right. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes. Look, we got the Game 7 energy. Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young here with you on SportsGrid. And we talked about how the Thunder offensively have some things that they need to figure out, right? You also have defensively the challenge of Victor Wembanyama. And we're going to kind of attack this two ways, okay? Because Coach has some ideas and certain things that he is seeing in this series. So, JY, I want to let you go first here, kind of the thought on Wemby, but it's not only about defending Wemby, but you think it's actually about making offense easier for Oklahoma City as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you talk about what we talked about last segment, right? Obviously, with AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams being out, being guys that can create off the bounce, and they create what we call defensive pressure, right? Especially a guy like Jalen Williams, who will drive the ball to the basket and really have no fear for Victor Wembanyama. So now you take away two guys that can't create shots. And now when you have just SGA with obviously Wembanyama underneath the basket guard and Hartenstein, now you can stay closer to the shooters and just let Fox or Harper or whoever, Vassell, whoever's guarding SGA that possession, try and funnel him to the basket, knowing that he's going to take a tough, 17-footer because you're gonna stay close to all of the shooters. So what do you do in a coach situation when it happens? You have to either guys have to create off the bounce, which is not their game, or do you change your approach? And here it is. I think the other Jalen Williams has to play a critical moment in this series tonight. Here's why. If you put Jalen Williams in the game, and he's going to be guarded by Wemby, and he knocks down one or two threes, now if you're Mitch Johnson, you have to bring Wemby outside to the perimeter. So what does that do? Now that gets SJ to driving lanes to get all the way to the basket, but now because Wemby's out on the drives, if you think he's going to the basket, now you got to load up and help. And now what we call, Mike Brown uses the term spray it. So now if you get the ball into the paint and guys collapse because Wemby's not there to protect the rim, then you can start spraying the ball and finding yourself kick out three, kick out one more. We call it one more where you drive it, hit it, they rotate, pass one more shot. So to me, and Mark, Kevin and I were talking to Story Brain, I made this point. Everybody sits here and talks about how great Mark Dagnall is. Let's have an honest conversation for a second. If Tyrese Halliburton doesn't tear his Achilles in Game 7, who do you think is actually winning that game? I don't know if it was Oklahoma City. Let's be honest. And Mark Dagnall sometimes is a little slow, or I was in slow, late to making adjustments. If I see it early that SGA can't get to the cup and we can't knock down shots, I'm sitting Hartenstein. I'm putting Jalen Williams in. I'm going to try and go pick a pop, bang a three or two, make Wemby come out, and then create the driving lanes for SGA with the ability to then kick out for the shooters, who then should be more wide open.
So there's so much there that I agree with. And I find myself to be watching these games feeling like Chet Holmgren's agent or Chet Holmgren's PR team. But after listening to Coach, I know I'm not crazy. Because JY is absolutely right to talk about pulling Wemby away from the basket. It's why, and I know Minnesota obviously did not win that series, but it is why the Wolves started to play Rudy Gobert less and less against the Spurs. Because it allows Wemby to sit in the paint and just deter everything. Guys, Chet Holmgren is the perfect pick and pop big. Perfect. You can certainly play him next to J-Dub, obviously, right? or you can just play small. Guys, look at the lineup the Spurs most often is running, right? It's Castle, it's Wemby, it's Vassell, it's Champagnie, and then it's Fox or Harper. You can match that with Shea, Caruso, Wallace, Dort, and Chet. Nobody is outmanned or outgunned. And the person you would be most concerned about probably in their head-to-head matchup is Chet Holmgren. Here is the thing that is driving me insane. And I want everybody to remember what Coach just said. Basically, if Chet offensively's only job is to pull Wemby away, it's a job well done. Okay? So offensively, we're good to go. Mark Daigneault still doesn't realize that Chet is the best defensive answer for Wemby. And it is blowing my mind. It is actually breaking my brain to watch this. He somehow thinks that they're better off with Isaiah Hartenstein, who is hopeless on the perimeter and the interior because Vic is too skilled, too quick, too tall, too everything. I know Chet loses this matchup. Guys, I've seen it throughout these 6 games. Defensively is where Chet is more comfortable. He didn't luck into a second-place finish in Defensive Player of the Year. It's kind of like when the Ballon d'Or went to Messi or Ronaldo every year for a decade. It was an achievement to finish third. It really was, right? For Neymar, Iniesta, you can tell I'm World Cup ready. To finish second in DPOY to Wemby is an achievement. You can basically say, I'm the best player in the world. The other guy's an alien. Chet should be the answer. Like, to everything we are talking about, Mark Daigneault has created a beautiful basketball environment that allows him to call on the 9th and 10th man, and they actually come in and contribute. It's very impressive. They are missing their second, best player, likely in Jalen Williams, maybe, 2B, whatever you want to call it. And they're still right here, booked as favorites. But in game, he last year was getting worked by Carlisle, worked by Malone, and is once again leaving moments on the table that he should not leave. We'll be right back here to Pro Basketball. Pro Basketball Today. We're back with you guys right here on SportsGrid. We have talked quite a bit about how OKC will look to attack JY, both sides of the ball. But what about San Antonio, right? And maybe this is the classic, you learn more from a loss, and the Thunder just lost a game by 27. So for the Spurs, it's, hey, more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. But is there anything, JY, game plan wise, advantage wise, something they should look to exploit, continue to exploit here for San Antonio to you?
Yes, listen, when you win that game and you look at that run, the craziest part about the run is Wemby gave you like 2 points in the third quarter. It was I think 2 points. It was everybody else. So to me, that is the key thing is that, while Wemby had 28 points, he kind of carried you in spots early on. And then when it got going, he had to have other people step up. But let's be honest with you, just kind of, looking at his point distribution, he only has one game with over 28 points. So are we going to get the game? It's going to be very interesting because if we talk about what we just said, right, which is, all right, we're going to switch up our matchups here. We're going to maybe go Jalen Williams, or in your case, which I do agree with as well as another option, is put Chet at the 5, right? Do you turn around with them not being as physical? Do you now roll Wemby into the post and then run cutters and action off them, which if you're 7'5", all you got to do, Kevin, if you're not physical, is get them near the block, catch a reverse pivot shot. Now you're going to have to start setting double teams. So what I look for is the coaching matchup within the coaching matchup. So if you see differences in how they're going to play in regards to playing Williams or putting Chet at the 5, I think the one thing you should look at is maybe the assist for Wemby. Because if you put him in a low block, which I would, I'm setting an immediate double team every time. I'm diving someone and I'm spacing the floor. Watch out for Wemby, how he attacks double teams if they switch up and take Hartenstein off of him.
So I think for Wemby specifically, I am fascinated to see if he falls in love with the three-point shot is a little strong, but how much he goes to it. Because game 1, a lot of the praise for Vic was the interior dominance. And game 5, a lot of the criticism was he looked gas. And it is exhausting to, have to go inside the paint to get all of your points. Also, if you're really tired, your three-point shot's not going to be as effective, which led to a 4 of 15, 0 of 5 from 3 performance from Victor Wembanyama in game number 5. He had it going early. He was just perfect from 3 to start the game. He ended up 4 for 9, though. So what do we see volume-wise from Vic? Does he like the three-point shot early to establish that threat? Does he need it to get him going for the energy of it all? I think that's very, very interesting. The other interesting thing is De'Aaron Fox versus Dylan Harper. So, there was a moment where I certainly thought Dylan Harper was going to be lost for this series. He proceeded to not miss a game. And Dylan Harper looked like he was on his way to not just I think he had a breakout postseason. It looked like Dylan Harper was going to reactivate some him versus Cooper Flag conversations. Dylan Harper was blowing people's minds. But the games following the injury, 6 points, 7 points, 5 points, right? So he had scored 18. Right? Remember, he opened the series with 24. Well, he goes and gets 18 in game number 6. On 6 of 9 shooting, got to the line a couple of times. He was great. De'Aaron Fox, incredibly and unfortunately, is actually, I think, JY, the less healthy of the two, least healthier player of the two. And Fox now in his last 2 games, 5 for 24 from the field. 9 points, 5 points in the 2 games. I'm very curious if this is a close game, how Mitch Johnson chooses his guards. Now, if Stephon Castle gets in foul trouble, which, boy, does he know how to do for a point guard, he had 3 straight games of 5 fouls prior to last. But does Fox end up a 25-minute man and Harper a 25-minute man? Does Fox's experience get him an extra 8 minutes? Harper's, growth. I think that's another really interesting element here in game number 7. We'll be right back on Sports. Pro basketball today on SportsGrid. Let's veer off momentarily from game number 7. Coach, we are getting a massive overhaul of the NBA's draft lottery. The current format favored the worst teams in the sport, though not massively. Not massively. The Brooklyn Nets were one of the worst teams in the sport. Brooklyn Nets were terrible, all right? They had the 3rd worst record in basketball. I think they picked 6th. The Indiana Pacers had the 2nd worst record in basketball. They don't even have their pick. And yet, the league believed that they needed more drastic changes. And so now, if you are one of the worst teams in the league, well, guess what? You're not as likely to get a top pick as a middling team in this league. I can explain the specifics of it a little bit more, I guess, JY, before I throw it to you, because it is very convoluted here. As Shams Charania puts it, because you also now have playoff teams, by the way, that are going to be involved here, right? So the bottom 3 teams are going to have lessened odds. I don't know. You're going to have teams trying to win in April. It's a lot, JY. Do you have an initial reaction here? Because I'm going to pull up the specifics that Shams tweeted out to the NBA's draft lottery overhaul.
Kevin, it's not like the worst team in the NBA every year is getting the number one
Yep.
pick. We obviously saw that with Cooper Flag. So I understand the integrity of it, right? You want these teams to make an effort to win games for the fans' sake. So I understand it. We also saw, I think the team that really messed us up is Utah. When Utah, after the Jaren Jackson trade, was winning games, and then they were benching their starters in the fourth quarter, and they were blowing leads left and right, and then not even blowing leads, Kevin,
Yeah.
just getting smoked in the fourth quarter,
Mm-hmm.
kind of forced the NBA's hand. So I get it. Do I like it? Not necessarily, and but at the end of the day, the NBA is a business, and we have to have teams that are trying to compete and teams trying to win games, even at the end of the year. I don't know if it's going to. I don't think it's going to completely take away tanking. Because if you're a team that didn't pick in the top 5 the year before and your team's struggling with injuries, I still think you may tank because there's still more balls in the system. I think what you're going to get is the perennial teams, the Utahs, the Brooklyns, right? The teams that have lost year after year after year. It's going to make them not want to tank because of this whole rule where I think it is that you can't have the number 1 pick 2 years in a row and you can't have a top 5 pick 3 straight years. So it takes away excessive tanking. But if you're outside the top 5, like Brooklyn right now picked 6. Next year, Kevin, they may tank because they just picked us out of the top 5. So I still think there's ways around it and just get you away from trying to tank multiple years in a row.
So I am, and just quickly, the bottom 3 teams will have 2 lottery balls. Teams 4 through 10 all receive 3 lottery balls. The 9 and 10 in the play-in tournament will get 2 lottery balls, so the same as those bottom 3 teams. And then the 7, 8 will actually get 1 lottery ball. So we are now bringing in more teams into the lottery. But the league did do that because they were going to get close to incentivizing losing in the play-in, which would have been a whole thing. And who knows, we still might get there, quite frankly, because of the way teams prioritize lottery balls. Overall, I've said this, I hate this, I don't like it. I actually think we should have just gotten rid of the lottery. We should have had a set draft order. It works in the NFL. There's no reason it cannot work here in the NBA. However, the other angle on this whole thing is it's going to work somewhat by how they've structured it and somewhat by coincidence, as long as you judge working by our teams egregiously tanking. Because I think it is so on the board that we have unintended consequences here, that the winners and the process is a mess. You have teams that are just stuck in the basement for what will feel like eternity in this league. Like, how are the Brooklyn Nets supposed to get out of this basement, right? Like, the Wizards finally got the first pick after years and years of being bad, all of those things. But if you're just looking at this through the lens of tanking, and that's stopping, you'll feel better about this. Now, the major reason is because we used to coach media and smart fans, people online, understandably call for teams to blow it up. Whoa, need a reset here. Time to trade your top guys and get yourself to the bottom of this league. Well, that doesn't exist anymore now, right? Because now you want to be the 4th team or the 5th team or the 6th team. But again, the odds are all so flattened. It is what it is, right? Teams will still do resets, but it won't be as drastic, ultimately, I don't believe. Because it's also just very, it's all jumbled up. right? Like, I don't think a lot of people will be able to follow this, you know? Like, I know some of these things come around. My dad will ask me, hey, Kev, what's up with this new lottery? I'll be like, Dad, don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. It's I don't know. We don't need to know. At some point, the odds are going to get set. So I think creating a little bit less interest by making a messier system will work in your favor. The other thing is, look at some of the worst offenders of tanking this year. Pacers, Jazz, Wizards. Those teams want to be good next year. The Pacers are going to hope they win the East in getting Tyrese Halliburton back. The Utah Jazz are going to not find a way that half of their roster is on the injury report all of a sudden, miraculously. The Wizards have Anthony Davis on the roster, Trae Young on the roster, and reportedly would love to get Giannis on the roster or LeBron on the roster. So what I think's even more, what's likelier here, Coach, is teams don't tank as hard because their timeline is now to go up. And the league is going to be like, see, we fixed it. It's like, you guys didn't fix it. They weren't going to tank anyway. And I think they're going to really pat themselves on the back here for their rules.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing is this year was just a little bit different, right? And you finally should see Utah put their chips to the center of the table and try and go for it. Obviously, getting Trae Young and AD will do that again for Washington. Indiana, like I said, with Tyrese Halliburton, they're going to be trying to compete. But I also, want to make sure people understand this. The NBA draft in 2027 is nowhere near it is in 2026. So It's also interesting how it's lining up. They're doing this after what we can consider one of the deepest top 10 in the NBA draft in the last, I don't know, Kevin, quarter century. So to me, it kind of works a little bit together how you're taking away for next year where teams may not even want to tank because the draft isn't as good as this year's.
Again, that's why it works perfectly, right? Because teams aren't going to nosedive to the bottom in the same way because it might be Tyron Stokes and a bunch of guys. And they're going to be like, see, we fixed it. Nobody wants to tank. And be like, all right, good for you, Adam, with your AI-generated review system, whatever you got going on. We're going to take a quick break right here on Pro Basketball Today. The W continues to heat up. We're on SportsGrid. All right, guys, here with you on SportsGrid, taking a look at the latest from the WNBA. But just quickly, before we do that, Coach, there was a long list of players that opted to come back to college this year. And I think, we had talked about NIL makes that more possible. But, man, that really increased, we felt, with the state of the 2026 class, right? Where certain guys who next year could be high-level lottery choices were maybe not going to be really in the mix, right? In the way that they should be coming into this draft class here. So Tyler Tanner back to Vanderbilt. Momcilovic, the Iowa State three-point shooter, heavily connected to Kentucky. I know Tunde Yesufu ends up at St. John's, which was a big one. We did see, Ademar, of course, left, right? Some of those Michigan guys left. Koa Pete is going to stick with the NBA draft instead of going back to Arizona for another year. Just wanted to get, Coach, any one decision that really stood out to you?
I on the coaches with JY a couple of days ago, I had Jay Billis on, and when Jay and I kind of got into what is going on, and it's very simple. The amount of money these kids are getting NIL is surpassing what they're going to get their first year in the NBA. Tunde Yesufu got $6 million from St. John's. That would have been equivalent, I think, if he was the number 8 draft pick. So now if you're getting more money, right, than you could by going pro, and then you turn around and increase your draft odds by going higher in a weaker draft, Yesufu was the one that made sense. Well, it was interesting because of the fact that he was a first-round pick going to St. John's now with a dynamic backcourt of Ian Jackson and Kid Ellis. Watch this Kid Ellis out of UK. He's one of the top European point guards this year. Will give Patino a great 3-guard lineup. But on the flip side, I'm looking at Koa Pete, a guy that burst onto the scenes with a 27-point performance his first game of his collegiate career, dealt with injuries. And Kevin, I thought at one point during the year, you and I were talking like this guy was top 10. He's sliding down the draft boards. Yeah. And if Koa Pete, with Burry's leaving, with the other kid leaving, he could have went to Arizona, got the bag, and maybe he would have been playing himself into a top 10, top 5 pick next year. So it's interesting how different people do it. Sometimes they do it, folks, also because they want to start the clock earlier, meaning get your rookie deal, get it over with, so then you get the extension faster. That's the number one reason, folks, why Cooper Flagg did not go pro, wanted to stay at Duke, honestly, didn't leave, because he would have left $75 million on the table. You're not making that money back. So there's two different ways to look at it. I think Koa Pete made a mistake. I would have went back. Yesufu, smart move, going to St. John's, gets the money, improves the stock for next year.
Yeah, the biggest thing to me is the Momcilovic decision giving Mark Pope one final chance at really flipping around this offseason at Kentucky. I don't know if people will grade it as a successful offseason if he lands Momcilovic. People are going to go nuts if he does not, and rightfully so. But all of a sudden, a Momcilovic, Malachi Moreno front court's pretty exciting. A lot of people like the guards they were able to bring over. I'm not saying people are going to be betting Kentucky to win the title. Look, remember how, so not last season, but 2 seasons ago, we had a clear top 4, Auburn, Florida. Help me out here, JY. Houston and Duke, of course, right? And they were all the 1 seeds, and they all just went right to the Final Four, and they were the best teams. We might have that, but from day 1 next year, all right? Because there are just some out-of-this-world rosters in college. But Pope has a chance to really salvage things in Kentucky. JY, just taking a snapshot here of the WNBA, because I do want to make sure we get to the W. Or you want to go quickly?
Yeah, when you talk about Mark Pope, let's just say it. It is the last chance. This is it. If they don't win this year with the amount of money NIL, they're going to move on. And you've seen coaches, Kevin, you know this really well. Coaches are getting shorter time lengths to win in college basketball when they're investing a lot. This is a literally make or break year for Mark Pope.
Yeah, certainly. I think, especially, expanded tournament, making the tournaments not the bar, right? It's winning tournament games, plural, and probably having a pretty good regular season. JY, just from the WNBA, man, is there a headline standing out to you? I'll tell you one that's just jumping off the page to me. The Minnesota Lynx last year were able to win games without Fee. They are doing it again. And we had both acknowledged something was off with how Fee was answering some questions about her future in Minnesota. But, and she long-term may go somewhere else, but she has to think that she can come back to this Lynx roster and they can absolutely contend for the WNBA championship this season.
Yeah, they absolutely could, because they went and got, in my opinion, maybe not the best player in regards to the overall career of the WNBA draft, but they got the most ready player for right now, and that is obviously Olivia Miles. And her ability to kind of sit there and kind of dissect and do this has really been really impressive. And you look at the person that may be benefiting it the most is Natasha Howard's had some really big scoring games, Kevin, to begin the year. Well, Natasha Howard's position is going to be the Fisher Collier's position when Big Fish comes back. So now I think that sets up an interesting dynamic in regards to them. Other quick notes, really quick. New York Liberty, they get Leona Fibich back. They get Banana Delaney Hamilton back. They're still wildly inconsistent. No Sabrina Ionescu. And then you got to talk about what's going on in Las Vegas, because we talked about, like, it's great getting Kennedy Carter to play with Jewel Lloyd and Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray. Are they starting to, they got to figure out how to work the minutes and get these girls all the shots and the ball in their hands like they need.
One other item, Jessica Shepard, MVP, 22, 20, and 10. Are you, what? Are you kidding me? Against the Aces, by the way? What? That is an outrageous I thought that team was going to need Alana Smith to be unbelievable in order for them to have a chance to be competitive in certain areas. Nope. All good. All good. Alana Smith might have lost her spot in the starting lineup. They may stick with AZ Fudd. We'll take a quick break. Game 7, one final time. Right here. It is Pro Basketball Today on SportsGrid. All right, guys, it's pro basketball today, and you know what? I'm honestly a bad friend. That's on me. All right, but you know what? Jay White's such a good guy. He's like, I don't even know what he's talking about. Coach James Young shows up here every Saturday, doing just an unbelievable job, right? And you would think at some point, though, right? One of the rewards of doing that would be when his team makes the NBA Finals for the first time in 2.5 decades, he'd get a while to talk about it. But we gave such a good breakdown of Game 7, plus a lot of other big topics, he had to wait all the way until right now. So, JY, the floor is yours. The New York Knicks are in the NBA Finals.
Kevin, I can't believe it. I mean, I thought that they were going to get there, but the matter of how the Knicks have gotten there is something short of miraculous. And I sat here with Kevin a year ago, and I told everyone that Mike Brown was going to be an upgrade over Tom Thibodeau. And I got some people came after me about it. And I said for two reasons. The offense was going to be a little bit more fluid, and he was going to use his bench, and he wasn't going to wear his guys out. Now, it did take the offense like, I don't know, 82, then 83 because of the NBA Cup, and then, let's see, 85, 86. It took about 86, 87 games to figure out that you just can't pound the ball into the pavement with Jalen Brunson. And you've seen the evolution of this Knicks team. It's been miraculous. You can't say enough about the team. You can't also say enough about, ready for this, folks? I'm going to say the two words that you're never going to think I'm going to give credit to. I'm going to give it to James Dolan. Why? Because he decided to stay out of it. He put people in place. He didn't meddle like he did with Donnie Walsh to force the Carmelo trade. He didn't meddle like he did when he tried to get LeBron James to sign with the Knicks. He let the people he hired do their job. Are you listening to me, Woody Johnson? I know it's not a football show, but are you listening, Woody Johnson? He trusted his guys to do their jobs. And it's beautiful times in New York City. I think the Knicks, if they play this way, are very much in play in the NBA Finals. If it's Oklahoma City, you're dealing with injuries, which I don't know when A.J. Mitchell and Jalen Williams are going to come back. That could give the Knicks an advantage at times. And if you look at San Antonio, if it's them, what are the Knicks going to do? They're going to pick and pop and run the offense through Cat. Wemby's got to come out and play it, which opens up driving lanes for Brunson if he can get to the rack. And New York Knicks have shot the ball extremely well from three. I'm not saying they're going to win it. They're going to be underdogs. But if people think this whole East thing and the Knicks just ran through everyone and they're going to get swept out of the finals, folks, I got a bridge. You got to sell that bridge to someone else. Whoever the Knicks play in the finals, it's going to be a really good series going at least 6 games.
I am really, really excited for the NBA Finals. I think the Knicks have look, it's not even a thought. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. They've gone on a historic run here. And, man, I don't know how they did it to some degree. Like, I know how they did it, but I don't know how they came to the conclusion to do it. And Brunson was brilliant in the Eastern Conference Finals. Cat has been great. Mikal Bridges was going to get run out of New York and is now, I have Knicks fans texting me the Knicks won the trade with the Brooklyn Nets. It has just been a remarkable turnaround, and it's been a lot of fun, and the city is on fire. So one final time, JY, who will the Knicks play in the NBA Finals, or perhaps a different bet that you like here for Game 7 tonight?
I actually like the San Antonio Spurs to actually win outright. I think they're going to find a way. I'm just concerned about OKC and the lack of adjustments by Mark Daigneault and their inability to create shots off the bounce. Now, I will say this. If the game is called tightly and putting people to the foul line, it's obviously going to benefit Oklahoma City because that's how Shea's got to get going. Get guys into foul trouble, drive the ball, get to the foul line, get easy points there. But I like San Antonio. And I do say this. I would look at Victor Wembanyama's assists I think if I'm Mark Dagnall, I'm saying it's coming. There's a 30-point game coming. I'm not going to allow him to do it. So I'm going to send double teams, particularly if he goes inside. Look for Wemby to go over his assist prop tonight.
I'm going to go with the Thunder. I think they get the job done. I have said Thunder in 7 from the jump here. I think the Spurs are live. I am absolutely not saying that this is some wild mismatch, but OKC at home, they've been here before. SGA's rebounds plus assists, JY, 11.5. I think he fills up the stat sheet as well for Coach James Young and Kevin Walsh. The next time we talk to you, we'll be in the middle of the NBA Finals.
Thanks for the